Hey there, hi there, ho there. It's Goon and Ironhead. We are coming to you live from Quaker Steak and Lube. It is a Thursday afternoon as we get ready for a conference championship weekend in the National Football League. We get ready for some more Penn State basketball, football, hockey, wrestling, football news, I should say.
Lots to talk about.
But likely not any Penn State football this weekend. But we'll get caught up on some of the news here from around the Lash building as well. 6 transfers coming in to Penn State. And there are some people, and I'm not, it's fine to lament the state of college football and it changes, but it's going to do as much good as those that lamented the free agency coming in to professional sports in the 70s. Yes, I can long for the days when the Steelers drafted the Steel Curtain and they played throughout their entire career in Pittsburgh. And I loved that growing up. I loved the Pirates. You knew, there might be a change at a position from one season to the next. In the crazy years, you might have 3 new position players because of a couple of retirements or what have you, and a trade. But, the reality is that this is the way college football is working now. And if you are not actively pursuing and getting some of these transfers, right, you are likely going to be behind the 8 ball when the season rolls around. I am also, I'm just loving, I made the mistake of venturing back into the message boards for no apparent reason. I really didn't have time to be doing it, but it was late at night and I was checking something, whether piece of information had gotten out or not, and it hadn't. But I was just checking on that, and then I got sucked in. I'm reading through this stuff, and you can have as many transfers as you want. It's Penn State's still going to not be anywhere near a Big Ten conference championship as long as James Franklin, who, by the way, won a Big Ten championship already, you morons. Whatever. If you're going to start with they're never going to do X, then you ought to at least remember whether or not they've done X already, because that's already, you can check that off. He already has a Big Ten championship to his credit. So thanks for playing, but you need to move along.
Same people who were complaining for Joe to go, O'Brien to go, everybody.
Well, again, grass is always greener on the other side, unless you have Nick Saban in Alabama. And I suspect, right, probably last season at the end of the year, there were some Alabama fans, I'm guessing, right, because it's the nature of fans. Saban's, his time has passed. We got to get somebody in here that can coach these guys up. That might be an exaggeration, but it might not be. But, unless you're Nick Saban in Alabama, right, everybody is always thinking, maybe Dabo Swinney and Clemson, but you're always thinking that, wow, if we just had X, and then by God, we'd be kings of the world.
Yeah, but this transfer, I know where you're going with it, and they announced 6 transfer kids coming into Penn State right now, and I was talking to my wife about it. I was like, it's a different world, man. It is a whole different world.
It is.
Guys that are going to be football lettermen here for 2 or 3 years, and then they go on and go somewhere else. And you got guys coming in here. One kid's from LaSalle High School, a kid who went to East Stroudsburg for a year.
Yep.
Now he's coming in here as he was a PSAC player, top player, and now he's going to come in and play at Penn State. And, it's just a different world. It's a totally different world. The days of, you can sit there and say you long for the days of this or that, but we had it very, very, very good here for a very, very, very long time. With
no question.
I always talked to Fitz when he was at Maryland, and he went through 3 coaching staffs in his 5 years there. He may have played 5, and he may have gray shirted, I think, maybe. But he went through 3 coaching regimes in his 5 or 6 seasons there at Maryland. And then he started being a strength coach there, and it's just like, lucky we have it that I could talk to a guy like, Matt Millen comes to town, and I'm like, hey, Matt, and we start telling old Joe stories, and it's like, because you had the same similar, coaching and backgrounds and all this stuff. It was always the same people in the building and stuff like that. I mean, it got stagnant after a while. People would think that, but, you don't realize how good you had it with coming from a place like this with all the turnover. But, I mean, you got 15, 20 new teammates every year, like 6 are out, 10 are in, and it's crazy. In the same breath, if we could talk about it, but let's think about what's going on in Knoxville right now. I mean, just the mass exodus that's going on right there with their football team.
Wow.
If I'm James Franklin, I got a hotel room in downtown Knoxville this weekend trying to catch on some of these volunteer kids trying to transfer out.
Yeah. You and every other Power 5 conference coach right now, you would think is at least taking a long, hard look.
We dealt with it firsthand when we called the free agency, I guess you'd say, when they dropped those sanctions on us and all the other schools were in state college, and we saw it firsthand how the sharks act, and the alligators are in the swamp. So it's just a whole different world, brother.
That it is. And again, it's going to continue to change and evolve here with the ongoing. I think anybody that thinks they have a definitive idea of how this all shakes out and what it looks like in 5 years, you don't.
Nope.
I don't think anybody right now has.
I think
clear picture.
it's Pandora's box has been open, and I don't know if it can be closed.
Yeah, and I don't know. I don't know that it's necessarily better or worse. It's just completely different. I mean, it'll be in the perspective of different individuals, right? And just like with free agency and professional sports, there are people like me that still long for the days, and I get it. I mean, I'm not against the athletes having the ability, having more say so on how their careers develop and unfold. But from a fan perspective, again, it was just nice. As a kid, I longed for the days where you pretty much knew year to year what that roster was going to look like. There was very little significant turnover from one season to the next. And, I like that. But do I get that that's never going to be the way of the world again? And that's, just the reality. Yeah. And it's going to be the same way with college athletics. Already is that way in college athletics. But I think this is just going to continue to evolve where every season, as we've talked about, it is going to start with all of these coaches are going to have to be recruiting their own team
every year.
Again, first, all of the guys that are on your roster are going to need to go to them. Hey, want to make sure you're happy, planning to be back here next year. If not, and listen, part of it too is, let's not paint it to be just that the coaches are being left high and dry because the kids get changed. One, coaches have been changing forever, all right, without any, in fact, have left schools decimated with NCAA sanctions and gone on to greener pastures themselves, which was a god-awful situation.
Seattle Seahawks. Be careful.
But above and beyond that, right, and we suspect anyway that it's happening. And again, I'm not saying this is wrong or right. It's just the way of the world where you're going to have coaches talking to the kids at the end of the season. Hey, we know you like being here and you've been here for a couple of years, but what do you think about going somewhere else? Could we help you do that? Because, boy, we'd like to have that scholarship for a kid that we know is better. This isn't the way it would be phrased, obviously, in the conversation. But, we saw that Tennessee's freeing some guys up, and, boy, they got a defensive tackle that we'd really like to get in here. Anything we can do to help you, move on to Pitt or North Carolina or somewhere else?
They had that ability back when I was in town and playing, and that was your fifth year. You had to be invited back. You were asked back to play. You weren't guaranteed that fifth year.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So there was a lot of guys who didn't continue on. That's why you only have about 5 or 6 or 7 guys that are fifth-year seniors on your team. So you had that. You could rely on that a little bit back in the day.
Yeah.
To thin your roster a little bit and bring some more guys. I mean, there's going to be busts. It's just the nature of the business. Not everybody's 100%. There's going to be injuries. Guys are going to come here And I'm like, okay, AKA Journey Brown. He discovered he has a heart issue. Okay, his career is over. You know, you didn't plan for that and have another backup. Well, I guess we did, but you know, it's always ever changing scene, I guess you'd say, and it's just going to be on steroids right now. That's what I feel like. You know, with the turnover, the team's turnover.
Well, and listen, part of it too is right. The schools, yes, academics are important. They're really important to us, but you better win and win right now. I mean, we're having coaches who are good, well-reputed coaches who are out in 3 years because they haven't lived up to expectations. Well, with that kind of pressure, you better believe that. And again, you go to Clemson. I mean, they had a top-end quarterback, a guy that was largely considered one of the top, I don't know, 5 in the country anyway, maybe top 3. Trevor Lawrence comes in and says, well, nice, thanks. Same thing with Alabama. So that all of these, I mean, James Franklin, yeah, you might have a couple of great running backs. You get the kid from, and I don't know if the kid from Baylor, how he fits in, but you get somebody that is the hot shot that, might be a first round pick. And I'm, again, not, I hear you. This is not this case. But yeah, I mean, so that you're constantly, right? You have to be constantly looking to upgrade your team in any way you can from one year to the next, within the rules and obviously within the parameters of your school's
sure. I'm noticing
rules and everything as well. But you better be focused on doing everything you can to get the best players available, again, that fit into your system and your school and all of that. But, that loyalty that was a two-way street for many years around here, it isn't the same. I mean, I'm not going to tell you that there isn't loyalty with the coaches and the players, but it is not the same as what it once was, and that's across the board throughout the country.
Yeah, and then to go back with what you're saying about bringing the kid in from Baylor and stuff like that, Saquon Barkley is an anomaly. I mean, it's running back by committee, in my opinion, in James Franklin's offense and in his tenure here. There's no doubt about that. So bringing in 3 or 4 kids, I mean, hell, we were playing with a 5th-string running back at the end of the year last year, and he was playing great.
Yep.
If you go in from the spring of last year that ended at the Cotton Bowl, what was it? Ricky Slade left, right?
Yep.
And then they had 2 other guys get hurt and this and that. We had a 5th or 6th-string guy playing as our starting tailback to end last season. So you never have enough depth, but I know that if you notice, James is a big, running back by committee guy. So more depth you can bring into that position, the better, and better for the players, to be honest with you. I mean, you come to a place like Penn State, to a Power 5 conference to go to the NFL. Yes, you come here for an education. You can fall back on that education, i.e. what I did, or if the NFL doesn't work out, like that didn't work out for me. But I mean, that's the way it has to be. That's the way it is around here. So, I just, it's just we all have to. The days of sitting, well, Joe did this. That's about a decade, 2 decades ago, but in my opinion, and it's just the way of the world. The way of, just a short, funny story. We're talking about. My wife and a couple of our friends were talking cell phones back in college, if you had them. I made a bold statement and said, I'd probably be in prison. And then my wife looked at me, she's like, really, you'd be in prison? I said, well, not in prison, but I wouldn't be playing at Penn State for long, nor would I have a college education, in my opinion, because I'm sure if some of the stuff that we had been doing in college was ever on video, we would be absolutely – we'd be kicked the hell out. So we can sit there and say the kids are so different now and this and that, but they have to be, because they have to be so guarded with that type of thing.
Yeah.
They can't really be themselves. So it's like we can't compare my generation or our generation to this current one. It's just such a different world in everything, in athletics, in school, and in social lives. It's crazy. To compare, it's impossible.
Yep. So again, and very difficult also, I think, now to project because of all of this, right from one season to the next. When it used to be, and never has it been an exact science by any stretch, right? I mean, there are years where you're like, well, I think we've talked about this before, that, Penn State coming off of the Sugar Bowl loss to Alabama that next year was loaded talent-wise, and it didn't pan out at all. So you can have situations where, it looked like one thing and it ended up another, but you at least had a pretty general idea, right? At the end of one college football season, all right, well, we know Penn State's losing a quarterback here. We know this is the quarterback that they've been grooming for that spot. They lost a couple defensive players here. These are the guys we're expecting. You had a pretty solid idea. Again, there might be a transfer or somebody who would pop up from nowhere or a hotshot freshman, but generally speaking, you knew most of how the lineup was going to be, and you were at least, that's what you were using at least to make your projection. Okay, well, this is how I think, this is an experienced team. They had a couple of bowl games here. This looks like they should be able to make that jump. You have no idea from one season to the next now how many of the guys that were on that roster at the end of the season will be there. And what makes it more difficult then is even as you get that in order, okay, these are the faces. So much of football, right, is how guys gel, how they buy into a system. Well, again, how not being at practice every day, or in my case ever, but the media is only there once or twice at the most a week for a little bit. Stretch. Right. You're going to tell me you can get a good feel for how that chemistry is developing with the new transfers and the new guys coming in and the egos that all of that entails, so that I just think it is going to become increasingly difficult. Yes, you expect Alabama to be Alabama, Clemson to be Clemson, Ohio State to be Ohio State. But I think it's going to become increasingly difficult to really try to gauge, all right, these are the teams we think can challenge. Because I think sometimes you're going to get, like you see in basketball, like you've had with a couple of Penn State teams, you're just going to get a group that stays together for 4 or 5 years, a core group, which is going to be uncommon moving forward in college football, and at a lesser known or a lesser renowned school, and they'll be able to kind of put it all together because they all are on the same page, even though maybe not as talented as some of the other teams that are out there. Or again, you just may have a year where everything, it just clicks. This receiver and this quarterback click, and a couple of new guys that with the offensive line click, or whatever it may be, and it comes together. But I think it's going to be much more difficult for analysts to really project, okay, this is how this team is going to come together. You might be able to evaluate talent to whatever degree you can do that. But again, football is so much about that feel for what your teammates are doing, knowing, defensively, knowing and trusting your role and everybody else's role, and offensively, again, just having it all mesh, the timing with the offensive line, the timing with the quarterbacks and the receivers, et cetera, et cetera.
The coaching.
Well, that's another component.
Jump around. Oh, well, you know what? They're bringing so-and-so, and he runs this offense. This is going to help so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so. But I want to go back to one point where you said, it evens the playing field for the players, that they can get out if the coach leaves. And that was the whole point of the transfer portal. So guys weren't stuck at places, i.e. Tennessee, Yeah. Okay, so, there's a guy like Tennessee who goes there, and now the coaches are all gone. What if they bring in someone to their coach and he doesn't mesh well with them, and the kid's stuck there for 4 years? So the transfer portal's for that type of guy. Now, in the same breath, it's also for the coach. If the coach feels that somebody's not meshing with his program and his guys, it's an easy way to get rid of guys, and say, hey, these scholarships are one. The unwritten rule is you didn't do that, but now the gloves are off, in my opinion, when it comes to coach-player relationships. If you're not playing, you're not doing well, and you're a hindrance on the program, shoo, go on,
Yep.
And that's just the way of the world. Like we're saying, everything's changing, and the last people to deal with it are going to be the ones who are going to be last place. So I think that James is doing a hell of a job getting out there and being proactive with all of this. When We laugh about Joe and this and that, but OB, you imagine him talking about the transfer portal? He didn't even know what the hell Spacebook was or Book of Faces, and he would just laugh about that. And no, but I think that James is being proactive with it, and maybe he didn't like the team, maybe he did like the team, but maybe he wanted some fresh new guys out there, and he can go out and get some new players. And hey, everybody can throw a line in the water and fish, I guess, right?
Absolutely.
But I just talked to Carrie. We were just like, the days are over of having similar type of college experiences as the kids are playing now, as to when we were playing and well before us. So, and that's not just Joe; that's everywhere. Football in general.
Absolutely.
These kids are very guarded. They're very different. I probably have told you the story 5 times on this show, but when I came back in 2005. And I started working in the weight room, and it was a Saturday morning, and there's 103 guys sitting there getting ready for a run. And I'm like, it's Saturday morning, guys. What the hell are you doing here? And I was like, back when we were playing, it was work your butt off Monday through Friday, jump in the car, go to somebody's house for a weekend.
Yeah.
That's what we did almost every weekend in the summer times. And then now it was the days of going home for a week or two or a month or two, and for intercession back when I was playing, those were well over. I mean, these guys are here. This is a job. This is a 50-week-a-year job. I mean, they have 2 weeks off a year that they get to go home and be regular human beings, aka students. Where we would have month at a time where we would have some time off, but those days are over, man. And these kids were training 6 days a week, 50 weeks a year, and it's a crazy. And another thing that me and Wally laughed about one time is that I came back here and these guys were holding practice video tape sessions. They were having like practice videos in May, March, April, June, July.
Yeah.
What the hell are you watching? Like, you watched yesterday's tape, right? That's how you got through practice. You watched yesterday's tape. Yeah. And I can just imagine what these meetings were. I wouldn't go to them, but I don't know. Remember me and Wally were just sitting there. I'd say, man, we'd have a revolt on our hands, like telling somebody, you got to come in here, you got to work out, get your 8 hours of workouts in the 5 days a week, plus you got to come in for 4 hours of it. But no way, it's the off season,
Right.
It's time to get our bodies right and get healthy for next year. So, but it is a whole different world, and it's just going to get worse and worse. Not worse, it's just different. So people would think that could be worse, but it's better. I mean, these kids are much better. They have such a better understanding of the game, of nutrition, of not going out twice a week and getting absolutely blotto drunk and this and that. And, that's obviously what you did back in the day, isn't it? I mean, how that could actually hinder your performance on the field. So, the kids are different now. They know a lot more. I know I've asked you before. Your high school weightlifting team, did State College High School have a weightlifting?
We did, yeah.
You had a weight room, right? You probably had a guy who in there who was a teacher, probably a gym teacher, or somebody who would monitor it for like 3 hours, 3 days a week. Now all these kids are coming here. They have a whole nutrition system. They have a whole weight regime that they've been doing since they were freshmen in high school. I mean, we were lifting as freshmen, sophomores, juniors, and seniors in high school, and it was just like you just did what the guy next to you was doing. Right. There was nothing formative, and that's all different nowadays. Totally different.
Yeah, and again, there are different systems that different schools will emphasize or prefer, but you're seeing a lot more, right, of individuals. Hey, this is what I know works for me, or a lot. And it's like everything else in sports, just a lot more specialization, right? It used to be, you were a running back. Now you might be a first down back. You might be a third down back. You might be the guy in the short yardage situations. You might be the guy.
I was the scat.
It's a likely passing down. Oh, well, obviously everybody would have assumed that.
I know you were more of like a.
But even defensively, you're seeing guys right switched in and out more. And I'm like at the high school level, you're seeing this. Hey, this is our. When I was playing, it was, these are your starters. If somebody's injured or, has an equipment problem, they're off and the next guy's up. Now is this a passing down or a running down? Is this a
Well, I got one for you.
Passing team or a running team that we're facing? Is it, all kinds of things, and you're seeing different, not just schemes, but wildly different personnel. I mean, you have some guys that are just on the field for very specific situations,
no doubt.
And again, that's at the youngest levels on up now.
Well, this is the biggest difference in the last 20 to 30 years, I'd say. 25 years and all before it. The fastest kid was your running back. You know what I mean? Okay?
Yeah.
And then the quarterback was the kid with the best arm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay, so those days are over. Now your best athlete, a.k.a. fastest kid, strongest kid, that's your quarterback. And they don't care about the throwing part. We'll teach you the throwing part because they want the best players to have the ball in their hands.
Yep.
And this is what you're seeing in college. You have the athletic quarterbacks coming up. You're not having these strong drop-back quarterbacks, and it's now in that way in college, from high school to college, and now the NFL, they don't know who to pick. They can't pick these classic drop-back type quarterbacks. And you're seeing that because the game has changed where you want the ball in your best player's hands every play, and that's the quarterback. Pass run pass option type of thing. That is a huge difference from when you and I grew up to now. And you're seeing that in the NFL. I mean, Josh Allen, he's the top young quarterback in the NFL as a drop-back quarterback, plays at Wyoming. I mean, you're just not the Power Five, the top schools are not teaching the drop-back quarterback things because high schools aren't teaching it, and it's filtered its way into the NFL.
Yeah. Yeah, and the line play has changed. The line play is still very important and significant, and probably still, after quarterback, where most teams, successful teams, are putting their focus. But that has changed. How you play those positions has changed pretty substantially over the last 20 years,
and how they're being paid too.
As well. Well, yeah, that is for sure. And then obviously you've seen the transition. I mean, more of the elite athletes are going out to the wide receiver spot because that's where, again, you can have the biggest impact on a game.
And bigger. It's unbelievable.
It really is. And same thing with the some of the linebackers. When you look at the size speed combinations now, I mean, it's stuff that just it truly seems unbelievable. Like the literal, like you cannot believe that somebody 260 pounds can run a 4.5 40. Like that is insane. There was a time when anybody running a 4.4 was bordering on insane.
I don't know who did it, but there was a 340-pound man running at the combine this year, and he ran a 4.8 something 40.
Yeah, that's
and some old school offensive lineman on Twitter was like, "This is a superhuman. They've created a different species right now." I mean, the name is slipping my mind. The middle linebacker for the Bills right now. His father was a Farrell Edmonds.
But
he's 6'5" and runs a 4.4 40 at 260 pounds.
But it all goes back to and this all goes back to what you were talking about, though, because the science of this thing has been darn near perfected at this point in terms of, all right, this is
like East German scientists.
This is the diet. This is the positioning. This is the sleep mechanisms. This is the exact training regimen. And again, they're starting earlier and earlier and dedicating themselves year round. To your point earlier, it's a 12-month process for some of these kids from the time
it is.
Totally. They're 6 or 7 years old.
And the other thing we got to talk about this weekend, Jeffrey, is we always talk about quarterback play as the main thing in the NFL. But what do all four teams that are available in the playoffs right now all have superior offensive lines? All have significantly legit offensive lines.
For sure.
That's where it starts. I mean, you can have all the 6'6", 4'2" running back, running wide receivers you want, but if the quarterback's getting his head knocked off in 2.2 seconds, it's a huge.
And with that, the ability to, all of these teams feel pretty confident if they need a yard or two
they can run
on any play, that they can just hand the ball off and get it.
The Packers are the ones that really impressed me with Bakhtiari getting hurt.
Yeah.
And they just literally bring in the Lamb guy, and they didn't miss a beat this week. It was very, very impressive.
No, they did not.
Very, very impressive.
Take a break here. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit more about the conference championship games coming up this weekend
Eagles.
as we continue with more of the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show after this.
Lion Country Kia is offering exceptional deals on your new Kia during Kia's Command the Season event.
We have a nice selection on the 2021 Kia Sportage with various options and prices as low as $26,800, saving you $3,000. Or if you demand big power and towing capacity, slip into one of the 2021 Kia Sorentos available on our lot, starting at $32,680.
Discover why Kia drivers throughout the area come to Lion Country Kia or visit online at lioncountrykia.com.
Introducing the new dusted Ghost Pepper at Quaker Steak and Lube. 11,700 SHUs of fire dusted on award-winning wings. Try it, or are you afraid of the heat?
Who wants to turn $20 into $500? Support our local restaurants this holiday season. Eat in or dine out, from French fries to lobster. Bring us your receipt and we'll take $500 off your final price. Here's how simple this is. Bring us a receipt, buy a car from us in the month of December, and we'll take $500 off your final price. Merry Christmas from Blaise Alexander Hyundai Mazda. Support your local restaurants and servers. And remember, tell them Johnny sent you.
From here? Well, in Philadelphia Eagle news, they hired their football coach today, Nick Sirianni, from the Indianapolis Colts offensive coordinator. I know our producer here, Chris Buchignani, is very happy. There's a Paisan at the helm for the Philadelphia Eagles. South Philadelphia is actually having a parade. Right, the Mummers just started marching around South Philadelphia in honor of Nick Sirianni. So before the show, we were laughing. Is that my one buddy over here is a Buffalo Bills fan, and Sirianni grew up in the Buffalo area, and McDermott grew up in the Philadelphia area, obviously. So we're going to make a trade.
There you go.
So McDermott's coming back to the Eagles. Sirianni's going to go up to Lake Erie and coach the Buffalo Bills. So it's just good news all around for everybody. So no, I gotta say I'm actually pretty happy with the hire. Yeah. Under 40, got a mind to him. Came under Frank Reich, which is I like because everything I'm hearing about the Philadelphia Eagles and the strife between Carson Wentz and the team is that he didn't respect anybody but Frank Reich, which is crazy to me because Wentz doesn't seem like that real pompous type of guy.
Yeah,
to act like people are saying the way he acts and doesn't take responsibility, doesn't take coaching well. Crazy to think about, but the rumor is that once Frank Reich left, because he was the only one who held Wentz in check in meetings and held his feet to the fire when he took 4 steps on a 3-step drop, ruined the timing. So this guy coming from the Colts with Frank Reich, it might be a blessing in disguise. I was not too happy with them trying to hire McDaniels because I guess I would have been, but I just, in my mind, I don't think McDaniels would. I think if they hired McDaniels, I'd think they'd get rid of Howie. So I guess I really wanted to get rid of Howie because I don't want him meddling in the Eagles as the general manager. But you work the salary cap like you've done, and that's fine. Let the football people do the football stuff. So a little upset with that he's still there, I guess you'd say. But Sirianni, he had to agree to probably listen to a meddling owner and a meddling general manager. So I'm okay with it. I'm not disappointed with it whatsoever. Happy they got somebody there, and everybody I know from Buffalo are good people. So hopefully he fits well.
Yep, that's. I truthfully I don't know enough about personality wise or anything else. Just see how it plays out. Which I guess you would do with any job, but I just don't know enough about him to have any kind of an educated offering on how I think that is going to go or what the fit is. Obviously comes from very good situation with the Colts. And again, it's
big news for your Steelers today too.
Yeah.
They picked the heir apparent up to Big Ben and Dwayne Haskins. There you go, Ironhead.
Yeah. Yeah.
Woohoo! Nightlife in Pittsburgh with Big Ben and Haskins running around. Holy heck! It could be an
That could be a party.
Could
be a party
in the Berg, baby. South side.
Yeah.
I mean, I knew something was going on here today. I walked in here today. You know, Brenton, manager, says, hey, Steelers signed Haskins. And I walk in, and Donnie Iris is playing on the radio. I'm like, it's a Yinzer day here.
Yes,
it is a big day for Pittsburgh here. Donnie Iris is on. He's rocking out Aaliyah. Dwayne Haskins isn't, and then here Nick Sirianni's. It was a good day for Philadelphia, I'd say.
Yeah, we'll see how that plays out as well. Penn State basketball tonight, big one against Rutgers. Desperately needed one,
and one they could definitely have
in the win column for sure. Boy, Illinois played awfully well on Tuesday. I mean, I realize Penn State did not play its best game, but boy, that is the Illinois team that looks like it could be a Final Four contender.
They were coming off a really bad loss to Ohio State, so they weren't happy.
They were dialed in. I'm
pretty sure the coach had them running a little bit the next day after that game, and they didn't want to go back that route.
So the only thing from this is very winnable, Goon, but again, we're talking about the third game now in 5 days.
Oh, I know.
And you're also talking about the mental. Again, you're coming off nothing but losses here in conference play. I just, you're hoping that they can come out hot early, right? That they can get into a rhythm offensively and kind of develop that confidence as the game goes on, and then that they can hold up down the last 10 minutes or so of the game physically. I just
you're right.
I'm hopeful, but I'm worried about just the timing of this one as much as anything else. So we'll see. Best of luck to the men's basketball team tonight. Of course, the women's game with Rutgers has been postponed due to COVID concerns in the Rutgers program. And then Penn State wrestling will get underway.
Hopefully.
Knocking on wood. We believe Sunday afternoon at Rec Hall against Michigan State at 1 o'clock.
On TV?
So that one is not on TV. It'll be
Ironhead.
Yeah, Big Ten Plus with the idiot who calls those matches. You're going to be stuck for that if you're wanting to follow the action on Sunday. But just excited to get that season going here and to kind of get the first glimpse of some of the new faces in that lineup. Do want to talk a little bit more about the conference championship games, Goon, and kind of just what you see as the keys. Obviously, Mahomes. I'm gonna. Let's, for the purposes of our discussion, assume he's going to play and play reasonably well.
So he's back.
Yeah, it sure feels like he's a go for Sunday. So assuming that is the case, and assuming again he's able to play well up to his standards are very close to it. What do you see? Because I think there are a couple of really key matchups, and I'm excited to see how they unfold in the Bills-Chiefs game.
I mean, I'll give you my two cents here. I talked to Butler, Johnny Butts, 2 weeks or last week, the day or two before the Baltimore game, and we were all sitting here last week saying how good Baltimore was and how they're going to make a run to the AFC title, possibly.
Well,
Super
they
Bowl,
were so hot,
and they were playing great. And I said, hey, you guys got to shut down Lamar Jackson and this, and he goes, that's the plan. So I mean, if they need to shut down Mahomes, they can, but it's like he's a whole different world with him because, it's easy in football. It's easy to shut down run or pass. When you've got like Mahomes who can run and pass, that is a whole different world, an absolute whole different world. So their defense is really, really, really got to make some plays, and they need to put pressure on him with their front four, and they can. They definitely can. They can make things happen. And they have the defensive backs to match up with their receivers.
Yeah.
But Tyreek Hill is just outlandishly so quick. I could not believe how fast that dude is. He is rightfully nicknamed the Cheetah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's pretty unbelievable how fast he is. And I see Nate the bartender over here listening for his 3 cents over here. Mr. Kansas City Chief fan over here. So, like we said Tuesday, no matter which two teams win this week, I'm happy. It's going to be a great Super Bowl.
Yeah,
I love the matchups either way, but I like Buffalo in this game, obviously because of the hometown roots. But I actually like them I think that Buffalo has a little something going on. And I think that Kansas City might be off a tick or two with Mahomes. We don't know how exactly he's going to be.
Yeah, I am really curious. That is one of the matchups is Tyreek Hill and how Buffalo goes about trying to cover him, how they scheme their defense against him is to me one of the intriguing storylines. The other thing to me is how that Buffalo's offensive line and Kansas City's defensive line, to me, is about as good of a matchup as you're going to have. You have strength on strength and quickness and power on quickness and power. And I just think that's going to be a whole lot of fun to just watch how that plays out over the course of 4 quarters. I also think it comes down to Josh Allen and how well he performed. I mean, he's obviously been performing fantastic down the stretch. Mahomes is going to perform well in the clutch. Allen in a different stage than he's been on to this point. Does he remain Mr. Cool, calm, collected, and deliver? And my guess is yes, but until you actually do it in this type of setting, that remains a bit.
I think America likes
of a
Buffalo
question
too. Like we talk about it Tuesday as being sort of like college attitude they have, like the happy-go-lucky, fun having, like the way Kansas City was last year.
Yeah,
like they became America's darlings, in my opinion. Now everybody's like, all right, they're winning too damn much. You know what I mean? And this could go into a 3 or 4 year dynasty here. So I guess that people are starting to fall off the Chiefs bandwagon, and I would like to see Buffalo do it. Like, your background and my background with it and all. So
yeah, we're both pulling for Buffalo, but I also I'm taking my heart out of it, and I really do think Buffalo, the way it's playing right now on both sides of the ball, I think Buffalo. I think it's going to be a great game. I mean, I think it's going to come right down to the wire, but it just feels like there's something, as you said, there's something really special going on with this year's Buffalo Bills team.
I mean, you're a Steelers fan. He's Roethlisberger 12 years ago.
Yeah.
When he's never out of the game, he can run around a little bit. I mean, he's a much more athletic.
No, and he just frustrates you because you feel like you're on the cusp of, all right, we almost had him. This next play we'll get. No, we almost had him again. All right, this next play. And it goes 4 quarters like that. And he just.
Mahomes, I mean, he's the same. It's like, geez.
Yeah, well, that's very true.
Wait for him to make the mistake. I'm still waiting for 2 years now for him to make the big mistake where it's like, oh man. You're waiting for it. Like Lamar Jackson throwing that pick 6 last week.
Yeah.
People were waiting for that. You know what I mean? It was like one of those, You're sort of waiting for these things with Allen and Mahomes, and you're just not seeing them make mistakes. Mahomes hasn't had a bad – I shouldn't say a bad game, but he hasn't had like one of those like career remembering horrible games.
Not a game like Ben Roethlisberger had, for example. A couple of weeks ago.
You mean the greatest game I ever watched in my life?
Nothing quite like that.
Is that what you're talking about? The greatest game in the history of playoff football? Yes, it was fantastic.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about.
I mean, it may come down to Mahomes. How about that? It comes down to Mahomes and Allen. Who blinks first? Who makes the big mistake first?
Well, I think if you're either team, right, you want the ball last with a chance to win. Like I think both these teams feel like if it's if we're within striking distance, a touchdown or less, and we have the ball with 90 seconds left, we're good.
Yep.
Right. I think both teams would feel very, very comfortable, very confident in that scenario. So I'm really excited to see that game, just because again, I do think across the board, I think it's just great matchups, and I think you have the two teams. Actually, I think you have the two teams that played the best throughout the season consistently, but I also think you have the two hottest teams, right? I mean, I think it's that combination where these are the two best teams in the AFC, period. Any criteria you want to use, that these were the two teams that rightfully ought to be playing for the championship, and so they are. And I think the winner is going to earn it, right? I mean, you're going to have to beat a really good football team, no matter which one emerges with the victory here to get to the Super Bowl. The NFC, I got to tell you.
Speaking of the hot teams, there's 2 more.
I have not seen Green Bay play. I mean, I've seen a lot of the highlights. I just have not sat down and watched a game of theirs. I don't think from beginning to end at all this entire season.
Right now, he is a machine.
but it's not just him. That offense is, man,
That's
oh man.
helping him.
I mean, again, you look at the statistic. I mean, it's not like I was shocked but to see them perform the way they do, and the precision with which they are picking apart defenses right now, and the different ways they can. I know Tampa's playing very well, and obviously Tom Brady. You're crazy to bet against Tom Brady. Period. But I just can't see that Green Bay team losing. I think it's a great matchup too, and I think it's we've talked about Tampa Bay's receiving core, and that's a legit defense for sure. And Tampa has a good running game as well. But man, I just Green Bay just impressed me to the degree that I think it's going to be Green Bay against the winner of that Buffalo Kansas City game is what I think. So if you're smart with your money, you're out there putting all of your cash down on the Buccaneers getting to the Super Bowl.
So you're saying that we're saying about Josh Allen and Mahomes making a mistake in this and that, and you just don't see it come out of Green Bay. I mean, Tampa can make some mistakes here and there, but Green Bay does not make mistakes. But we keep on saying, I'm waiting for this to happen, waiting for a bad play to happen, but I don't know where in the hell this Packers defense came from. I mean, that was their Achilles heel for 5 to 10 years. And they couldn't stop anybody, and now they're just beating the tar out of people, and their offense is so good that they're making teams into having to pass, and they are just rocking and rolling. I mean, there's another Philadelphia guy. You got Pettin as the DC for the Packers. I mean, just an unbelievable job what he's doing with them and how they're doing it, because it's sort of like there's not that many new names from the past few years. They're just playing a lot better.
Yeah.
And, dude, I don't know what Aaron Rodgers, the voice inflection on his cadence, it's like 3 times a game. He gets people to jump. It's unbelievable.
It is.
And he always gets at least 1 or 2 free 5-yard plays, free plays with them running a quick offense and another team trying to run defensive players off the field. He hikes the ball, and there's still 12 players in the field. It happens twice a game. Every game you watch, he gets at least 2 offsides free plays, and then 2 12 men on the field free plays. It's crazy how he does that.
Yep.
And then on the other side of the field is the GOAT. I mean, there's not any confusion in my eyes as to who the greatest quarterback and greatest football player in the NFL history is. And it absolutely shames and pains me to say it because of where he went to school, but my Lord, he is going to go, if he wins this, it'll be his 10th. That's 2 numbers, 1 and 0, 10 Super Bowls.
Yep.
That was a screaming A goon right there, Pooch. 10. He's going to 10 Super Bowls.
Yeah.
10th Super Bowl.
Yeah, I think we talked about it on Tuesday, but I don't think anybody's ever going to come close to that at that position. It's just too hard to do. I mean, it's hard to get to a Super Bowl, right? I mean, it really is very, very hard to get to a Super Bowl, let alone to get to 9 or 10 and to win 6 or 7. I mean, it's just insane.
20th season, and this is his 14th conference championship game.
Yeah.
Okay, that's 6 seasons without playing in a conference title. One of them was when he blew his knee out, so he only had 5. He played 5 seasons in his career that he did not play in a conference title game.
Yeah, I did like the other meme going around this week was Tom Brady's is like, I don't always go to the AFC Championship game, but when I don't, I go to the NFC Championship game.
Pretty good.
So he is love him or hate him, boy, he is something special. And I don't think we're going to see
we'll never see
list of accomplishments, certainly in terms of playing in conference championship or Super Bowl games or winning Super Bowl games. cannot believe that this will ever be matched or topped. At least not in our lifetime, unless there's some sort of drastic change made to the way the NFL
free agency
operates.
has worked and this and that, and the salary cap. It will never happen. It happened in hockey.
Believe that as well.
There's the dynasties in hockeys in the 80s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. I get it.
Yep.
But they were all under constraint and this and that. But when free agency came in, you barely see these 3, 4, 5 teams in a row. At least since the Red Wings in the 90s with the Russian 5. But you're never going to see that. I mean, in any sport. I mean, to 20 seasons, 14 conference title games.
Yep.
Just insane. Insane.
Big hockey game tonight. Big couple of games for Penn State hockey coming up as well.
Big time.
Goon, I got to tell you, this team, we've talked about this being a bit of a rebuilding year. And we were anxious
laughed at you for saying that.
We were anxious to see how it would kind of come together as the season developed. I don't think Guy Gadowski would say it, but they have to be ahead of schedule, right?
Oh.
With the way they've played,
absolutely.
Here in the Big Ten, and especially in the last, what is it? I think they're 7-2 in the last 9 games, and they have the 3-game streak and the sweep of Michigan State last weekend.
5-1 at home.
But this is a really good Wisconsin team.
Fans are crazy.
But I will say Wisconsin has largely been making their living at home, right? Like they have not been on the road much at all here in conference play. And I get, the crowd factor isn't there, but it is a little different, right? When you're not on the home ice that you're comfortable on. I think this is going to be a really fun couple of games. Maybe a little bit of a measuring stick for Penn State, but I think more so just a tremendous opportunity because Wisconsin is playing, maybe as well right now as anybody in the Big Ten. Penn State, truthfully, is playing right now as well as anybody in the Big Ten over these last couple of weekends for sure.
Couldn't agree more.
So I think these two teams are going to be a whole lot of fun to watch. And I think it's. Again, if you're Penn State, to me, you're just looking at it as a tremendous opportunity to continue that rise and the ascension that they are making through the conference right now. And, all of this to me is laying the groundwork. And I'm not saying, there are some big things that are certainly possible for this team this season with the way that they're playing right now. But I really think you're laying the foundation for some potential big-time success, Frozen Four type stuff, next season and maybe the next couple of seasons here.
Guys
to
done
be
a great
right in the
job with
mix.
this team. When they're young, he's got them rocking and rolling the way he wants them to play. Offense, they can put the puck in the net. But they're tough. They're playing tough. They're playing real well. Sort of like that team in southeastern Pennsylvania, Ironhead. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do know what you mean. We'll see. Penguins are showing some signs of getting things going.
That was a
here
much-needed
too.
win the other night.
It was much needed. So
but it's good to see Guy and the hockey team do so well. I mean, this is a guy you were talking like it was supposed to be a down year, but a guy like Guy Gadowski's he's not gonna sit there and say it's not a down year for him.
No,
he's a great coach. He's gonna have these guys playing at the top, at peak all the time. So Guy does a hell of a job.
And they're a talented team. I mean, we knew it wasn't that they were going to be devoid of talent. It's just that they had so much inexperience in so many key spots. But, the recruiting has been rock solid from day one here with Guy Gadowski, and that obviously isn't changing anytime soon. And I don't know. I just think these are going to be a fun couple of games.
For the Magola family. It could be a huge weekend for Kim and Terry.
That is a fact. Yep, looking forward to the conference championship games again. I think we're both picking Buffalo and Green Bay. Is that true or no? You're thinking Tampa?
Who I want?
Well, no. Who are you picking? What's your Super Bowl matchup with your head right now?
With my head, I'm going to go Buffalo, Tampa.
Okay. Yeah, I have. I'm thinking the Bills and the Packers. So I just maybe I'm caught up in that because that's the first time again I say that I really sat down and watched a Green Bay game, and maybe I just got too enamored. But man, that just and I will say I think as we've been talking about it, any any combination here in the Super Bowl of these
True.
4 remaining teams is going to be must-see TV for football fans and maybe even non-football fans.
A replay of Super Bowl 1?
So that would be neat. There's going to be great. That's the other thing. There's great storylines no matter what matchup you get here, right? I mean, Kansas City, Green Bay, you have that storyline along with the quarterbacks and everything else.
State Farm paying for everything.
Tom Brady and Tampa Bay, there's automatic everything. Yes, indeed. And the Bills, to me, are just one of the really fun stories in the NFL this year. And I think obviously the storyline of that franchise pursuing its first Super Bowl would be a big one. So I again, no matter what combination you get here, I think it's going to be a really good game and a fun, interesting game. But also, there's just storylines galore no matter how this shakes out for your Super Bowl matchup here this season.
Coming from a fan of the Eagles, when the fans get absolutely smacked around by the world.
Yep.
The Bills Mafia also gets pooped on by a lot of people because what they do off the field, how crazy they are, breaking tables, drinking, getting hammered. But did you see what they did for the Lamar Thomas when he got hurt? They raised a ton of money to get and donated it towards his charity.
Yes,
which is Blessings in a Backpack, which is something I've been involved with for the last 10 years.
Yep.
I'm like, you know what? That's freaking awesome. And you guys can be as crazy as you want, and and then your people are going to crap on you with all they're just crazy. They're meathead drunks and this and that. But they're good people. They got good hearts.
Yeah.
And that was a pretty cool thing they did.
That was great. Yep, that was a great story coming out of that game. Folks, we hope you enjoy all of the sports between now and next Tuesday. We will be back on Tuesday to talk about it from 3 to 4 with our next edition of the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show here at Quaker Steak and Lube. Until then, we hope that you stay safe and be good. Talk to you Tuesday.
Hold off from ordering that, I will. If you want to hold off in the future from ordering that type of stuff, I don't want you.
Lion Country Kia is offering exceptional deals on your new Kia during Kia's Command the Season event.
We have a nice selection on the 2021 Kia Sportage with various options and prices as low as $26,800, saving you $3,000. Or if you demand big power and towing capacity, slip into one of the 2021 Kia Sorrentos available on our lot, starting at $32,680.
Discover why Kia drivers throughout the area come to Lion Country Kia or visit online at lioncountrykia.com.
Introducing the new dusted Ghost Pepper at Quaker Steak and Lube. 11,700 SHUs of fire dusted on award-winning wings. Try it, or are you afraid of the heat?
Who wants to turn $20 into $500? Support our local restaurants this holiday season. Eat in or dine out, from French fries to lobster. Bring us your receipt and we'll take $500 off your final price. Here's how simple this is. Bring us a receipt, buy a car from us in the month of December, and we'll take $500 off your final price. Merry Christmas from Blaise Alexander Hyundai Mazda. Support your local restaurants and servers. And remember, tell them John